Welcome to Into the Night. I'm Nari, your guide on today's excursion down a twisted path. Be careful not to get lost. Be it dark or light, it's easy to lose your way. Are you ready? Then let's begin. A life in a world of darkness. You may have heard of me, maybe not. All I know for certain is that many people, too many, placed expectations on me that I couldn't fulfill. And one by one, they've drifted away from my life, mostly through no fault of their own. Now here I am, lonely and bereft of warmth or friendship. Still, there are those who think I can do something for them, that I can dip into some well of magic that will take their problems away. No one stops to think how I feel, and I teeter between anger and stoicism. Maybe this is simply my lot in life. I'm troubled by the anger and fearful of the stoicism. I don't want to become devoid of joy or compassion. I don't want to stop being the me I used to be. Not that you asked, but since I have your ear, I'm going to talk. I don't have the opportunity to share anything about myself very often, so humor me as I take advantage of your presence. I never thought I'd be so alone that I needed to rely on the kindness and patience of a stranger for even momentary companionship. But here I am. I will lie here, watching the stars and other celestial bodies rotating in the sky as I am in the habit of doing. And I'll bare my soul to you. Thank you for listening. When I was a child growing up, our community thrived. We were merchants and tradesmen, adventurers and explorers. I watched the sparkling cities, and I stood in awe of what we accomplished. Our science and technology, unrivaled by anyone around, gave us the opportunity to satisfy our physical, emotional, and psychological needs. We had plenty of food and lovely homes for the former, and travel, art, and music for the latter. My mother was quite talented as a musician, and my father was an artist in addition to his work as an engineer. My brothers and sisters and I spent our days dabbling in experiments and trying our hands at the arts. Playtime was plentiful, and our imaginations took us to the many places we'd read about in the books that lined our parents' study. We didn't know that we would be the last generation to enjoy the fruits of our civilization's work. As children, we couldn't imagine a day when we wouldn't look back on our lives and wonder how everything fell apart so quickly. My oldest brother was the prankster and entertainer, my sisters the singers, and my other brother the athlete. I was known as the studious one. At a young age, people made a habit of coming to me and asking for my advice. You have a good head on your shoulders, and you are wise beyond your years. I prided myself in being useful in my own way, but sometimes my availability to others came at my own detriment. People called me at all hours seeking my guidance, and the lack of sleep sometimes caused me to fall behind in other aspects of my life. I did not attend to the everyday duties I should have. For that, my parents occasionally accused me of slacking, but they weren't too hard on me. They knew that I had the weight of helping adults make decisions on my shoulders, and my parents took pride in knowing they'd raised such a respected son. Still, at times, the stress of arbitrating disagreements and finding palatable solutions for upset community members became exhausting. You see, know-how and technical abilities are important, but a skill not held by far too many is the ability to listen and reason. Sage advice with no hidden agendas isn't always easy to come by. People can be too close to their own problems to see possible solutions, but I have the ability to cut through the emotion and doubt of a situation to find credible answers. Relationship troubles, workplace dilemmas, and internal conflicts usually have remedies. Well, I could solve problems in my world when it came to the personal level, but wisdom wasn't the panacea for all of my world struggles. Outside forces, failing infrastructure, and a dissolving government were beyond my control. I gave advice to those who sought it, but the people who held the most power were the least likely to help. Full of their own self-worth, they refused to believe anyone but themselves could be equipped to make big decisions. We all suffered as a result of their hubris. Politicians and military leaders didn't listen, and they became encapsulated in their own worldview. It was surprising how quickly our community unraveled. All it took was a crop failure, a crashing economy, and illness, and before long people turned on one another, each becoming greedy and hoarding resources. If everyone had gathered and protected only what they needed for themselves and their families, that might have worked. Instead, some starved to death sitting on large fuel reserves. Others fought to the death to protect computer chips or tools or one type of food or another. They forgot the glaring truth. No one could live on only one item. Everyone needed some of everything in order to remain alive. Disease set in, and those with stockpiles of medicine wouldn't share it with those who were ill. Those with weapons became truly insane, and insanity overcame reason. They killed anyone who came near them. Eventually, they ran out of ammunition, or their weapons malfunctioned, and they sat atop a mound of useless scrap metal that did nothing to help themselves or their families. The rampant diseases were terrible. Few had immunity. Travel and foreign commerce were halted by those we'd done business with. They considered us to be contagions. No one trusted our goods anymore, and to come into contact with us meant possibly spreading our illnesses with their populations. Governments cracked down and economically isolated us. Some continued to make black market trips abroad, ignoring the risk they posed to other communities. Eventually, this selfish behavior led to foreign nations declaring war on us. They used every weapon in their arsenals to subdue and obliterate us. I watched as my parents and brothers and sisters succumbed to both disease and starvation. Our family was among thousands, millions who perished. As someone known for reason and wisdom, I lost hope, and I couldn't wrap my heart and mind around the complete and utter collapse of everything I knew and loved. I withdrew to avoid the horrors of the world around me. I found a cave and hid myself away. No one had the energy or will to explore at this point, so no one intruded upon the solitude I found deep within this cavern. I don't know how long I was there, but I remember hearing calamitous explosions and seeing a bright light that penetrated even into the recesses of the cave. Fearful, I waited and waited before deciding to emerge from my hiding spot. My heart broke when I reached the mouth of the cave and saw the extent of the devastation. Little remained standing. My eyes, already adapted to darkness, found no other sign of life in the blackened heap of what used to be our civilization. I walked for days, searching for anyone who might be alive, but eventually I stopped trying. No one was left. I suffered from deep depression afterwards. In many ways, the despair I felt then never went away. Everyone and everything I loved was gone, with no hope of it ever returning, and that hole will remain in my core forever. Feeling aimless, I continued to walk with no real sense of destination. I needed a change. I needed a fresh start, or at least a fresh ending. Living alone took its toll on me, but since I had no one to tie me to the land I knew and loved, I used the stars to guide me to a new place. That journey brought me here, where I am tonight. I found this place, this site of perpetual light, that is in some ways so different from my homeland, yet it is similar too. I admire the beauty the light displays every night. I see mixed blues with white swirls on the nearest celestial body, and whether you realize it or not, I do hear your cries. All of those hopes, dreams, and questions that you send my way, I hear them. I may not be able to answer them, but know that I care. I thought I might have found friends here at one time. They stopped occasionally, but they quickly left me behind. We never officially spoke. I was too introverted and reticent to reveal myself to them. Next time I will say hello to these visitors. They didn't return, however, and until you opened your heart to listen to me tonight, I hadn't had the chance to share my thoughts and feelings with anyone in a long, long time. My homeland is now known as the dark side, and I feel that lack of light deep in my soul. In some ways, I'm constantly in a state of darkness. Please forgive me if I've jabbered on past what courtesy allows. You're busy with a life of your own to focus on. Please do me a favor, if you don't mind, however. The next time you look at my world in the night sky and you think you spot me, will you wave or say hello? Any little kindness would be much appreciated, and your warm thoughts will cushion my loneliness. It's not easy being the man in the moon. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Into the Night Anthology podcast, written by Caroline Giammanco, narrated by Nari, theme music by Nico Rodriguez. You can find our links in the show notes. Into the Night is on your favorite podcatcher, so make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review to help other excursionists to join us. I'll see you next time, and remember, whether in the shadows or in the daylight, all twisted paths lead you into the night. Hi, excursionists. I'm so glad you stayed. If you ever wonder what I'm working on when I'm not here, you can find my current and past projects at narinarrates.com. That's also where you can sign up to be a story in my library, where every story somehow finds its way back home.